So today I'm going to talk about one of my all-time favorite anime, which is Gatchaman. And I don't collect too many Funko Pops, very few. But there are a few licenses that will get me to pick some up, and one of them would be Gatchaman. These three figures, there are actually five members of the team, but they only made three. Um, they took me forever to get all three of these. I got the two right when they were released, and for whatever reason, Big Bad Toy Store was taking forever. I don't know if they ever got it because I finally, for certain items, lesser priced items, you can just cancel them with no cost. So I canceled it and then ordered it off of Amazon. But it's Joe the Condor, Ken the Eagle, and June the Swan. So where I originally learned of Gatchaman, the series was started in 1972, released in Japan, and then it came to the United States as Battle of the Planets in 1978, and that's when I watched, got introduced to Gatchaman as Battle of the Planets, and here, Battle of the Planets, this is not a complete set. Oh, it's as complete as it gets. This is everything that was ever released, but they didn't. I don't believe they released everything, so these are all on DVD. Um, so basically, so it took them 6 years to release it in the West, and basically they wanted to. I can't remember what studio it was, Sandy Franks or something like that, and they wanted to capitalize on the popularity of Star Wars, which was released in 1977, and so one of the issues was that there was quite a bit of violence in the original Gatchaman. It was cartoon violence, but people would die, and unfortunately, back then the American censors would not allow that, and so they really cut a lot out of these Gatchaman Battle of the Planets cartoons. They added in a character called Seven Zark 7 that was kind of intended to be similar to like R2D2, except he actually spoke. So Seven Zark 7 was not in the original Gatchaman. There was also scenes in there back at Center Neptune of the group just kind of hanging out, playing table tennis, stuff like that. All of that was added. And the reason they had to add all that stuff was because it had to replace all of the stuff that was taken out because of the censorship. To me, it was, as someone who was at the time watching things like Super Friends, Scooby-Doo, it was so different because of the level of kind of maturity of the plots and just getting to know the characters. The Scooby-Doo, Super Friends, other cartoons like that, they're fine, they're fun, but they're very vapid, they're very shallow. And there was a certain depth to Battle of the Planets, even though it was really cut up and also just changed radically. For instance, in Battle of the Planets, the Earth was being invaded by Spectra from the planet Spectra. I think it was something like that, and so it was literally Battle of the Planets. This was not the case in Gatchaman. There was only one alien, and that was the luminescent one, that kind of flame-like looking creature. All of the Spectra were humans, and so that was radically different in that this was not an external force attacking the Earth. These were humans also. And I think that made it all the more tragic, was the fact that these were humans being manipulated by one alien force rather than this. And it would also, they would show the fiery phoenix blasting into space to go to other planets. No, that none of that happened. They were always fighting on Earth. So it showed for 1978. So I've been super young at the time, 8 years old, and they also had G-Force and Eagle Riders, and I never watched those. particularly G-Force. I don't know if I've ever watched them. Eagle Force was it was a mashup of the two follow-up series, which are Gatchaman 2 and Gatchaman F for Gatchaman Fighter. So I own every one of these. I actually have gotten rid of a lot of stuff because so these Gatchaman F these are DVDs. This is Blu-ray. I gave up on ever thinking that they were going to come up with Blu-ray for the Gatchaman 2 and Gatchaman F. So I just got who knows if they'll ever make it. I'm not sure the series are popular enough to put them on Blu-ray, but maybe someday. But basically for Eagle Riders, they sliced up and combined Gatchaman 2 and Gatchaman F. I never really watched it. The only one was Battle of the Planets. Once Battle of the Planets ran its course, it went into legal hell over who owned the rights to American distribution. And so it just stopped running. As far as I know, it just stopped running. And a lot of people like myself had very fond memories of the series from their childhood and were very curious to see or wanted to see it again. And so there was kind of a little bit of a cottage industry of people having episodes on VHS tapes and then copying them and either giving them away or selling them. So I never went that route. I wasn't that desperate to watch Battle of the Planets, but it wasn't until Gatchaman, and I can't remember who originally released it on maybe ADV on DVD, but I collected them all, and then it was a massive stack because it's so many episodes. There were only like 3 or 4 episodes per DVD, and so it was huge. And then now it reduced down to just 3 boxes for the entire series. So there's 105 episodes, and then the OVA came out in sometime in the 1990s, which was basically, the OVA was the series compressed down into 3 long episodes, and it was pretty good. I liked it. I thought they did a really good job on that. So OVAs and extras. This was a tremendously influential series. The characters still get used, but they haven't had a series. I mean, there was Gatchaman Crowds, which had like nothing to do with the series. I don't know why they even called it Gatchaman Crowds. Maybe they just Gatchaman. My understanding is the name Gatchaman isn't even a word. It's supposed to be like a sound, like kabam or kapowie or something like that. Gatchaman. One of the other interesting things was that, so they changed all the names. The names in, it was Mark and Jason, and so those were the names that I knew in Battle of the Planets, but their names here, you could see the name is Ken, it's Ken Washio. Joe, I can't remember Joe's last name. And I think she was Princess, I want to say. And Ken the Eagle was voiced by Casey Kasem, and for me, Casey Kasem he was Mark. He was Mark because he had that smooth DJ voice, because Casey Kasem was a DJ. And it wasn't until I learned later and watched Gatchaman that his voice was actually completely inappropriate for the character, because he was this very calming leader and unflappable. And in the series, he actually could be very hot-tempered and emotional. And so Casey Kasem was not a good choice, even though for me, and a lot of people, he was the voice of Mark, which is Ken Washio. So anyway, there is one other. If we look on Big Bad Toy Store, we've got a Storm Collectibles, and I have this pre-ordered. Ken the Eagle figure. I don't know if that's going to be a one and done, or if they're going to make all 5. Or, shoot, what's his name? His name is Berg Katse, the main villain in the first one. It's Berg Katse in Gatchaman. What is it, Zoltar or something? I'm trying to remember now his name. Battle of the Planets. Zoltar? So Casey Kasem, who also did Scooby-Doo, or he did Shaggy. Zoltar. Zoltar is K. Luke. So I have this on. They have a Gatchaman God Phoenix model kit. I never do the model kits. So that, and then we have the three. So the characters continue to get used to this day. Like they'll put them in video games. It was in one of the Street Fighter video games. Actually, they had Ken, and maybe one other, maybe June. I can't remember. And they'll get used in some anime. There was one, I can't remember which one it was, but Ken was one of the main characters in there. But there was they were working on a CGI movie, and it just fell through. The company that was making it, I think it went belly up. I think they made released one movie, and then I think it was Astro Boy, and then it just folded. So I hope someday, I would love to see them make a modern Gatchaman. It was an incredibly influential cartoon, particularly in the dynamics of the team. With the two male characters, number 1 and number 2 on the team, generally a third in command female, a husky fellow, and then a child. And this has been used a lot, this exact dynamic, including in Voltron. So this was I've never figured out whether they are supposed to be superpowered or not. They used some kind of wrist device to transform into their bird form. And they certainly do things that are inhuman, but that doesn't necessarily mean they have superpowers, because that sometimes in anime, characters can do inhuman things, but they're still intended to be human. And just as a final aside, I never take my Funko Pop characters out, or my figures out. So in fact, they're sitting in a closet. But I will say that Funko Pops are like, $11-12, something like that. The painting definitely is not perfect on them. You could see flaws in there. So you get what you pay for. I know that some people love Funko Pops. Some people see them as just, disposable toys. You could see kind of the paint is not great. But I love Gatchaman, so I was willing to get it. Maybe someday I'll bring them out. But like I said, I have them just sitting in a closet at this point. So, you can almost think of it as just pure collectible, even though I bought it for the license. But given that I'm keeping it in the box and keeping it in the closet and haven't even, I just don't have enough shelf space for Funko Pops. But anyway, that's kind of an introduction of Gatchaman and a few Funko Pop figures that use the license.